Hi, my name is Tanya Williams, Senior Director of Strategic Communications at Emily's List. Emily's List is the nation's largest resource for women in politics. We help elect Democratic pro-choice women up and down the ballot and across the country. I am thrilled today for our first ever LinkedIn Live conversation. First, I'd like to bring up former labor leader, former president of Emily's List, and the current U.S. Senator from the great state of California, Laphonza Butler. Hello, Senator.
Hi, Tanya.
I still love how that sounds. Now I'd like to bring up to our virtual stage a political powerhouse who got her start right here at Emily's List, our newly announced president, Jessica Mackler. Good afternoon, Jessica.
Good afternoon.
These two phenomenal women are going to talk about their visions for the future, the essential role of young people as we get closer to November and beyond, and the importance and value of representation. Without further ado, Jessica Mackler, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Senator Butler. It does feel good to say that for being here today with me. I'm so honored to follow in your footsteps as the fourth president of Emily's List. As you know, we always say that the reason this work is so important is because of the work the women leaders that we support do once they're in office. So it is really meaningful to get to see the work that you're doing every day in the Senate while we're carrying on the work of Emily's List, electing Democratic pro-choice women up and down the ballot. You and I have had so many conversations about what leading this organization means in this particular moment in time. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Same, Jessica. It is. Thank you and congratulations again to you. We have found ourselves in many conversations while at Emily's List, and since I have left, and I could not be more proud to pass the baton of Emily's List on to you, someone who started their career at Emily's List, and continuing to make a difference and change in the face of politics. And so just a huge congratulations to you, to the organization of Emily's List, all of our board and staff, who I know have just as much confidence and excitement in your leadership as I do. Having talked with you so many times, Jessica, about the impact of Emily's List and the work that is in front of us, particularly given this moment in our nation's story, about the rights and control of women to make decisions about their own bodies. Talk to me and talk to us a little bit about the vision that you want to carry forward at Emily's List as its fourth president.
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, we have to start with what's right in front of our face, because we have the most important election of our lives. And we, of course, say that all the time. It's the most important election of our lives, but with democracy on the line, with voting rights, with abortion rights, and so many freedoms on the line, this one in front of us is really critical. And so Emily's List for the last several election cycles has been playing a central role, particularly post-Dobbs, in messaging around abortion rights and how we use that messaging to make clear to voters what's at stake and turn them out. And we have some really key priorities, starting with one that I know you had spent a lot of time here on and that we're going to continue on, which is supporting the vice president, the highest elected woman in the country, as she plays a really critical role in the Biden-Harris ticket, and reelecting that administration is so critical. But then beyond that, we have to hold the United States Senate, which I'm sure you feel the importance of in the position you're in right now. We have to deliver Democratic majorities for this administration so that they are able to really truly restore the rights that we've lost. And so that's flipping the United States House with Emily's List-backed candidates. And then, of course, with this fight in the states, being, really securing majorities in state legislatures across the country, where we've seen what happens when we have Democrats in power and that they can lead on these issues. So that's right in front of our face, and that's really important. But when I think beyond this election cycle, one of the things I've always loved about Emily's List is that it's really about collective power. It's about the Emily's List community coming together and giving in ways big and small, and that together we are able to change the dynamics for women across the country running in these races, and that by doing so, we can secure these victories. And so for me, it's thinking about how do we build and grow that Emily's List community, and how do we use this moment we're in where people are so upset and angry about the loss of rights that that has happened to us, that we can use that as a moment to say, join us and let's do some really big things together. So that's what I'm most excited about. And I want to hear from you. You know, we have really seen your Senate appointment as the manifestation of our mission at Emily's List. So as you transitioned from the leader of an organization to elect Democratic pro-choice women to office to a Democratic pro-choice woman in the Senate, how has that shaped your thinking around this mission of electing Democratic women and what it means?
Well, let me first just say, I think could not agree more with how you're approaching, your work and your leadership at Emily's List, and continue to count me a friend and ally, and someone who is prepared to take assignment and follow instruction. Because to your question, I have seen in the Senate just the important role that women in the Senate make. And the difference that it makes that women are there. You just take the Alabama ruling, for example, around IVF. When you look at just how powerful the voice was of the Senate women, and in Senator Baldwin, no, not Baldwin, the other Tammy, Duckworth. Just look at the Senator Duckworth's leadership, right, on the spot, talking about and sharing her story of having her two daughters through IVF after she had given and paid the ultimate sacrifice in serving our country, knowing that IVF was the way that she and her husband could grow their family, and to have that legislation objected to by a woman in from the Republican Party was just, I think unconscionable. It really does speak to the important role that Democratic pro-choice women play in being in the Senate and being in leadership and having voice and running races, win or lose, being in the conversation changes the conversation. And again, whether it's IVF, the battle for control of women's bodies relative to abortion access and reproductive freedom that's happening across many states and the Supreme Courts right now, or women who are running for state legislature or governor. The difference that Governor Gretchen Whitmer's leadership has made. I was just in Selma, Alabama, commemorating the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, and was there and joined by Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, who was bringing the story of the work of Michigan, voters in Michigan, and really demonstrating her leadership to continue to advocate for having free and fair access to the ballot. So whatever the conversation, what I have seen, whatever the conversation, it matters that women are a part of it. And I think Emily's List has done, an incredible job over the last near 40 years, changing the face of American politics so that the voices of women can be present, so that the issues that advance our country have a more fulsome representation. And it truly has made a difference, surely opened my eyes to not just the value of running in an election, but the value of serving in office and how the leadership of Democratic pro-choice women truly does show up. One of the things that has also been really key for me, Jessica, in thinking about my time here at the Senate and reflecting on my time at Emily's List, as I eagerly pass the baton of leadership to you, is sort of this notion of story and narrative, and how it is the story of the women in the United States Senate and in elected office and other places that really sort of grounds and connects us not only to our purpose, but to the people that we are seeking to represent. And you have a unique story that is, I think, true to Emily's List, in that you started your career at Emily's List. And here you now have the opportunity to lead it in a way that speaks to your journey and what you think the role of Democratic pro-choice women can be. Share with those who may be watching who don't know sort of your early days of Emily's List and how you want to ground in your story and experience in those early days as a part of the future of Emily's List.
Absolutely. And first of all, I'll say that we are absolutely going to call on you to use it. We have it on the record. You're going to help us out in this election cycle, multiple election cycles. So we will take you up on that. But yeah, it's a true intern to president story, which is really, it's been such a special moment for me to be in this role and now to take it on as the full fourth president of Emily's List. I came to Emily's List as an intern after working on a congressional campaign as a college student for a former state legislator and school board member who ran to unseat a Republican in San Diego. And she won, and she said, "You need to go work at Emily's List." And so I went to Emily's List, and I actually really hadn't known that much about Emily's List when I came in the door, but I ended up staying for 2 election cycles as a staffer, and I went all over the country working on campaigns from Wisconsin to California to South Carolina. And so my entire political foundation was really rooted in understanding what are the barriers that women face when they run for office, particularly women of color, and how do we as an organization help overcome them. And so everything from there was through that lens of what does it take, ways big and small. I connected both to the mission of Emily's List, but the other thing about it is really an ethos, which is that we stand in the gap. We are there to take on these challenges to help guide and train and resource our candidates in whatever ways we possibly can so that they can win these races. I got to spend months on and off on the ground in Milwaukee with now Congresswoman Gwen Moore in her first election, and she was running against the establishment pick of who was supposed to be a member of Congress. And I think those stories and those experiences really have driven me throughout my career, and it's what I see today. It makes a difference who is sitting at the table. It's not just a D by your name. It is not just a vote on the ledger. But you referenced this, and I think it's the perfect example. When we see Senator Tammy Duckworth leading the IVF fight and to protect access to this critical health care for women, and as you said, not just healthcare, but it is control to assert for women that they get to make choices about their bodies and their futures, that it matters who is at that table. And so we know, as you are now the third Black woman to serve in the history of the United States Senate, that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to making sure that we have the voices at the table who deserve and need to be there. And so that's the work of Emily's List, and it's the work that I got to do from the very beginning. So it is really a true honor to get to do that. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, because it's an issue that I know is really important to both of us, is the role of young people in our world today. And I've seen your amazing work with the Born This Way Foundation, and of course, the work you're doing in the Senate. And I will say that I truly believe that a diverse coalition of young women are going to be essential to the success in 2024. So I'd love to hear from you about kind of how you've thought about making young people a focal point for your time in the Senate.
Honestly, I think it's just a continuation of the work that we started at Emily's List. knowing that the pipeline building or pathway building for women and women of color into elected office, doesn't wait until they're, careered and retired professionals, but ensuring that we are building those pathways for young women to be a voice for their community, whether today they're serving in the PTA and want to run for city council or school board or even their state legislature, that it was imperative, we believed, to include young women as potential candidate recruits, not to fall into the trap of you had to be a certain age to represent your community. And so once we had sort of really just looked at the math and made some clear determinations about the recruitment pathways that our organization was charged with helping to create, it helped me to really see a lot of the other challenges, not just ageist challenges relative to leadership and elected office, but what are other challenges that young people in our country face? And there are those who think that the greatest threat to the future of our democracy is happening this November. While I agree, I also believe that a threat to the future of our democracy is the disbelief and cynicism of young people happening in high schools and colleges across the country who haven't yet seen the power of government as a positive influence in their lives. They have, come of age under a president who would create a Muslim ban announce a Muslim ban on his first day of office, or, lock children in cages, or continue to vilify and divide. They've come of age in a global pandemic where they spent their freshman year in high school at their kitchen table at best, or, sitting outside the Wendy's or McDonald's to get internet access to be able to attend class. And so I think that there is an opportunity in this moment, and I think a charge of a leader like me in the Senate, who serves as one of the youngest senators, to really reach out and to do my part to build those pathways, to strengthen those pathways, so that young people can see that government can work as a positive force in their community, so that then you can recruit them to actually run, to continue to be a part of the positive force in their community. And so I honestly just see it as a continuation of my commitment to both the ethos and the mission of Emily's List, and to open the doors for so many young people who may feel like public service is no longer a place of meaningful reward and contribution in their lives. And there's so many challenges that I think we just need to include young leaders, the next generation who is going to be charged with carrying our democracy forward, that they can see, learn, and have input into how their government can work for them. And I think that the work that Emily's List is doing right now is another way, as you said, to sort of deal with the business in front of us and bring young people along. You mentioned and made note that currently am the only Black woman serving in the United States Senate. Only it's third Black woman in our country's history, only the 12th Black person in the more than 235 years of the United States Senate. And I know that the work in front of Emily's List is also about diversifying the representation of women in the United States Senate, not just from a place of race and ethnicity, but also from experience and lived journeys. Can you talk to me about, I know with the work around Lisa Blunt Rochester, who is such an exciting candidate for all of us, and Angela also Brooks, you talked about the lifting up of the vice president. Can you talk a little bit about what that kind of diverse representation means to an organization like Emily's List and the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. And I will also say on the topic of, as we were talking about young people, and that is an important part of how we think about the diversity of these bodies, is having those voices. But, we also are spending a lot of time at Emily's List talking about, as I said, the role of young people as voters in this election. And I think for young women in particular, this moment where they've seen these rights stripped away is a moment where we're really feeling and have an opportunity to connect that feeling of outrage into the opportunity to change things and to see government, as you said, really be able to lead the way and say, we can restore these freedoms, and we can bring you in to the fold and make you and provide a connection to what it looks like to be in this system. So I'm definitely dedicated to that as well. When it comes to just the candidates that we support, and I can talk about our candidates all day. So we have a really incredible set of candidates this election cycle, and particularly candidates who are running for Senate, because we've been lucky to be a part of their journey for a long time. And so women like Lisa Blunt Rochester, who we've supported as she ran for the U.S. House and served in that body and has done such great work, and now is running for Senate in Delaware. We're really excited to see her in the United States Senate. Debbie Merkersell-Powell, who is someone we supported when she ran and served in Congress from Florida. Florida is hard, but we've also seen there is energy around abortion rights. People are starting to get fed up, unsurprisingly, with DeSantis and the government there. Rick Scott is very unpopular. So there is a lot of energy and excitement there. I think we have some good opportunity, and to see a young Latina in the Senate would be, I think, an incredibly important voice that we could add to that body. And then, of course, Angela Alsobrooks, who is running, and I know we are both very enthusiastically supporting her, and she's running in my home state of Maryland. And so I care about all of our candidates, but she is also going to be my senator. And so I care very deeply about this one. But I think for each of them and so many other candidates who we have across the ballot, it's really having those perspectives, bringing those perspectives into that body for all of the reasons that you articulated around what that work looks like, and then what it means for the people who are watching that work and can see the amazing things that people can do. And so that then gives them a reason to believe and to have faith in what is possible. So I'm excited about all of that. And I will say, we talk a lot about the Senate, but also, in the House, last election cycle together, we were able to help elect an incredible class of congresswomen. We sent, on election day, we sent 15 new women to the House of Representatives, 10 of them women of color. We had, and when I think about the most important election fights of this cycle in the House, it is those women. So Yadira Caraveo in Colorado, Andrea Salinas in Oregon, Mary Peltola in Alaska, Marie Glusenkamp Perez in Washington, and Amelia Sykes in Ohio. They're really going to be the foundation of our fight for the House. So we have so many, as I could say, go on and on and on about the amazing women that we're supporting, but we can see why it really matters, and that is, foundational to what Emily's List does. So,
and critical to this conversation about the House majority, it's one track of mind in planning to think about what are the seats that we pick up. But we've got to make sure that we continue to remind people about the math. We have to add on top of the number that we already have, which means keeping all of those incredible women who, weren't predicted to win in a midterm, and making sure that as we face a challenging election this cycle, I'm reminding folks that these are leaders that are critical to representing their communities, and critical to get into that House majority where we can truly do the work. So I think it's a great point, and all great women who I too could talk about all day.
Well, and as you said, many of them not predicted to win. And so that's the other part of Emily's List, is that I remember those conversations that we would have in October when we would say, oh, they don't think this person can get across the line. And we said, well, we're gonna stick with it anyway, because we need to do this. And we were successful. And so that's the path forward again in this election cycle, for sure. Well, as we said, we could talk about this all day, but I think we are almost out of time. I just want to thank you for joining me for our first Emily's List LinkedIn Live conversation. I feel lucky. I consider you both a mentor and a friend. And I'm looking forward to continuing this work in partnership with you in different way as we move forward. But any last words for me or for our audience?
No, look, I think that this is one, thank you. And thank you to the team at Emily's List. I count myself a forever member of the EL family and a part of that broader community. And am glad to be of service to this mission in whatever way that I can. My last words to those who are watching, if you are not yet a part of the Emily's List family and community, please go to the emilyslist.org website and check it out. Learn about the candidates that the organization is supporting and learn about the incredible difference that the women that they have elected make every single day. It is awesome to think about the power of a 40-year-old organization that truly declared that it was going to change the face of American politics and didn't just talk about it, but actually did it. And so if you're not a part of the community, please go to the website. If you are or have been connected in one way or the other, go back to the website. This is an opportunity where history is counting on us to write it in this moment. We have the power to write history, to write women and women of color into the history books for future generations to not only learn about, but to be proud of. And so let's take the opportunity to help to make sure that Emily's List is writing the next chapter of the history of women in politics in this country. Go to the website and do be a part of it and join me and Jessica and the 5 million Emily's List concurrent community to truly make a difference.
That is a great place for us to wrap up. I think we're gonna have to get some merch with writing women into the history books. I love that. Our team will have to help me move that along. Thank you, Senator Butler. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. As the senator said, you can learn more about Emily's List by visiting emilyslist.org. But in addition to LinkedIn, you can find us on Instagram, X, Facebook, all under Emily's List. So we hope to connect with you soon and often throughout Election Day. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.